welcome back to the Heart of Disclosure. I am Simon Essler, and I'm very glad to have you here. So, a little disclaimer before we begin. I come from a set of assumptions in making these episodes, the main one being that you are on board with the main spiritual concept of oneness. This is a simple concept, and yet it is complex to explore and to comprehend. So I will be exploring that in various ways throughout all the episodes. So if it's something that you haven't really looked into a lot yourself, I really urge you to delve into it via all the different spiritual sources that offer such an idea. The other part of my disclaimer is that it can very much help if you're learning material like this, if you want to really absorb it, to write it down with a pen on paper, not typing it. A good example of how this works very well is Kathy O'Brien, whistleblower Kathy O'Brien's advice and her testimony about how she healed from MK Ultra mind control. And it was through pen and paper journaling that she managed to bring her traumatic memories into her rational mind so that she could look at them objectively and begin to heal and comprehend and use them to grow and learn. So we're going to be dealing today with some very emotionally charged circumstances, and so it might help you to write with a pen and paper so that you have the ability to use your rational mind to comprehend. Okay, let's move on. So today we're going to get into a common issue within the community, the disclosure community, the truth community. This is the idea of trolls, shills, and disinformation agents. And I do mean the idea of trolls, shills, and disinformation agents, not the actual issue itself. So what we're going to explore is how this impacts us as individuals and as a community, internally, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. So the essence of the way we're going to look at this is the yin and yang of tension in the community. Yin and yang is a very helpful, very important spiritual concept, essentially saying that all of the universe, all of creation, is made up of this dynamic, constant interaction of yin and yang, and all yin contains yang, and all yang contains yin, and the two are constantly emerging from each other. They carry each other's potential, and they balance each other, and these two forces allow creation to continuously come into existence. And so we're going to use that as a lens into the tensions that arise in the community when we deal with things like feeling we have encountered a troll or a shill or a disinformation agent, and generally anyone or any information in the community that has caused that kind of feeling within us. So the first thing to recognize here is that we are not a product produced by creation, okay? And when I say we, I mean us as individuals, us as a community, and also humanity as a whole. So we are not a thing that arrived from creation moving up until this point. No. We are actually a process. We are the process of creation occurring constantly. Now, why is this important? Well, we need to engage everything that is happening throughout disclosure as process. If we fixate on a product, i.e. disclosure, if we fixate on enlightenment, a fixed state in the future, or ascension, a new state in the future, then we are actually denying our true nature, okay? We need to engage our nature as being a process. We are a living process of creation occurring. Now, this is important in terms of encountering people and information and circumstances within this intense process of disclosure within the community and the constant waves of information coming out, we have to recognize that this process of tension and challenge is our nature, and it is the nature of existence. So we are not looking to create something fixed, or a fixed idea or state in the future. So we need to be present with ourselves and at disclosure as process, so that we can be present with what's going on. Because if we fixate on the idea of disclosure as a stagnant thing, then we get stuck back on this idea, and it's tricky, right? You see a crystal. This is a great example. It's easy to believe that this is a stagnant thing. Truth be told, both spiritual knowledge and science comprehend that this is not a stagnant thing. It is in flux, right? It is part of the waves of ever-changing energy, all the interactions and dynamics that are occurring. It is yin and yang, creating each other, as stagnant as it may seem. And so this image communicates what's going on better, because the waves are constantly in flux. But really, this is the nature of us all the time, of the process of disclosure, right? Waves of change coming, ups and downs. So really letting this land allows us to be more present with the process of disclosure so that we can serve it. Okay, let's move on. So, when we are considering the feelings that arise within us, if we're encountering information that is challenging, frustration about the process of disclosure, individuals that we feel are purposely sabotaging us or the process itself, this is an important thing to remember, okay? So anyone who creates the feeling within you that your peace or freedom is being restricted is karmically bound to you as you are to them. So when an interaction like this occurs, there is karma that is arising, okay? And karma is always a useful thing, right? We can always use it to our advantage. So even though it may seem like someone is creating this feeling within you, and so they are somehow damaging your spiritual process, the actual fact is that they have invested energy in your process. And through the creation of karma, there is the creation of opportunity. Okay, so the tensions of these interactions are expressions of karma. Okay, you're in the community, you're on Facebook, someone has ignited so much frustration or tension in you, or you've come across an article that is promoting a narrative that you think is disinformation, anything along those lines through the process of disclosure, or you're encountering a family member who's rejecting these ideas, or is shaming you or persecuting you. So all karma contains within it an opportunity for enlightenment to occur, right? When it arises, it is inherent within the karma that some progression can be made, okay? And so this is true for all involved in terms of where they're at, okay? So it's not up to us to understand what the karmic opportunity is for the person that we're encountering, for who's on the other side of it, right? So whatever is arising for them, that is theirs. It's not up to you to help them deal with their karma. That is their own personal process. So it matches where they're at in their own evolution. And I don't mean that in a linear way. I just mean that they are going through their own unique process. So the yin and yang dynamics means that all negativity in the experience contains the potential for positive expression. That means that anytime you are challenged by any circumstance as we are trying to manifest disclosure together, anytime you see someone else in the community being challenged, that circumstance contains naturally the energy for something positive, for something beautiful, for growth to occur. On the individual level, it can contribute to enlightenment, and on the collective level, it can contribute to humanity's ascension. Okay, so this is really, really important to bring into our hearts. All right? So, next, when you come across someone that you really want to label as a troll, or insult really in any way, or categorize, really, trying to limit them into something fixed, right, rather than a process, you may find that they are petty or insulting or short-tempered, closed-minded, manipulative, whatever you are seeing arising in their behavior, okay? You have to understand that labeling them or proving that they are or revealing them or outing them as a troll is actually, spiritually speaking, not relevant if you're having tension arise in your body, in your heart. Okay, that's not actually the priority if that's what's coming up for you. Okay, the priority in a circumstance like that, if you are feeling challenged, the priority is coming to terms with the potential of the energy that they have invested in you through that interaction. Okay, so all tension on earth right now is creative tension. It all has that potential within it. Okay, there is no tension on earth that does not have the potential to create something positive for humanity. It is inherent in all the tension that is existent on earth right now. Okay? So whoever the individual or group is that you are encountering, they are contributing energy with positive potential. Whatever they are bringing to you, it has positive potential within it, based on the dynamics of yin and yang. This is the natural state of energy in the universe. Anything that is in a state that you might consider negatively charged, it has to, by the laws of creation, by the laws that we can comprehend through yin and yang, it has to contain the potential for positive expression. Okay? Very, very important. So, moving on. The beauty in anyone who is creating, in your eyes, discord in the community, whether they are actually an evil plant, from an agency or not, the beauty arises in two ways. One, they are creating collective momentum for humanity's ascension. So just by, I had a cat leap up. Just by participating in process, right? The process that is going on for humanity right now. Just by contributing to it, even in a way that you perceive as negative, they are creating potential, they are creating opportunity, they are creating momentum for us to all keep going. Okay, that's very important to remember. And if we get fixated on a victim mentality, then we lose that fact. Number two, they are offering you the opportunity to master the art of discovering something within yourself that needs to be transformed. Okay, so if that wasn't the case, then your encounter with them would bring feelings of love, of gratitude, of clarity, of calmness. However, if that's not what is arising in this interaction, then you are being called to something within yourself. So, this brings us to another very important point. Every single circumstance in the community, every single circumstance, every single interaction is brimming with the potential to contribute directly to your enlightenment and humanity's ascension. So as you are moving through Facebook, okay, as you're going into the different groups, reading the different articles, okay, checking through the different sources, all of it is brimming with this potential. The realization of that potential is up to you. So you cannot find something in this community that is actually holding us back. All you can find are circumstances where the potential for it to contribute to your enlightenment and humanity's ascension is more or less difficult to find, and yet always exists, because the yin and yang in tension in the community. We need the tension because this is process. Okay? So try to keep that in mind. Write it down on a sticky note on your computer if social media is the main way that you engage the process of disclosure. Keep this as a reminder. We all need to keep this in our hearts. It's something I'm working very hard on myself, and it's challenging, but it's a great way. It's a really great way to focus our energy so that we can remain engaged and challenged and positive. So, next, these are some yin and yang facts to consider in light of what we've been talking about. If the troll you're encountering disappeared, okay, so would an opportunity for growth and service, which I think quite logically we all need. There are none of us on this planet that do not need opportunities for growth and service. So we don't want this, series of challenges that keep coming up in waves for us as individuals in a community to go away. Okay, we really, really need them. There's a difference between climbing a mountain and what happens to you as a being when you climb the mountain and just getting flown in a helicopter to the top of a mountain. Okay? That's because we are process. We are not product. Okay? We are not looking for anything that has actual finality. We are actually looking for a deepening into process. Yes. Okay. The next thing. Shaming and ridiculing an aspect of the universe that is playing such a sacred role is silly. Okay? If you're being challenged by someone or something in this whole process, shaming and ridiculing, putting down, punishing, you are doing that to an aspect of yourself and creation that is playing a very sacred role, because there is only process. We don't have plateaus. Okay, so you're putting down something that is trying to contribute to the growth and healing of all. So it's really never a helpful thing to do when we land in the dynamics of creation that are really occurring. And I understand the temptation to do this. I'm not by any means innocent when it comes to this. It's tempting because we ourselves have been oppressed. Right? As individuals, if you're part of this society, you have been oppressed. So it's understandable that the desire to put down people that we think are representative of resistance or harm, it's understandable that that's tempting. But it is silly when we know the truth and we hold it in our hearts. Whatever triggers you that feels like it's outside of you is also inside of you, right? Essential yin and yang dynamics. If you're being triggered by something out in the world, out in the community, that means it is also inside of you, okay? You're experiencing it as yang out there, and it is also yin in here. It has to be. This is the nature of reality, okay? And so trolls, shills, and disinformation agents are also your neglected innocence, asking for your calm and wise attention. Okay, let's move on. So, during a tense encounter, what is occurring? Well, in a basic way, there is an increase in energy. okay, this increase is generally experienced as agitation. Very basic, right? We are suddenly faced at this point in the interaction with a fork in the road. So again, no matter what you're encountering in the community that is challenging you, be it a group, a person, a source, anything that is coming up that is really, really making you grit your teeth and clench your body and go towards anger and frustration and the desire to punish, okay, brings you to this fork in the road. Two directions we can go. We can apply calm awareness to the agitation to examine it and understand it, and that's going inwards, okay? Or we can apply the agitated energy towards manipulating the people or circumstances before us, outward. So, this is something that takes some time to learn, right? The temptation when we've been triggered to go out into the world, to change the world, punish the world, manipulate the world is very tempting. But if you're in an agitated state, it is absolutely essential that you go inwards, that you take the time to go inwards. And that could mean a lot of different things, and I'll make some suggestions, but it is never a sign for you to attack the world, to change it, to manipulate it. In terms of, this community processing tension and accusations, that really is not going to help us to realize the potential that is inherent in these challenging circumstances. So this brings us to a general rule, okay? And all rules, all truths should be held lightly. Keep that in mind. Nothing is final. You should always be ready to let things go. But this is a good general rule that you should try applying. When an encounter brings agitation, frustration, or tension within you, it is a calling for internal awareness and realization. Okay? When an encounter brings love, clarity, or gratitude within you, it is meant for outward flowing service and creation. This is a really, really excellent rule to live by as we are trying to manifest things as a community, as individuals. Okay, this is going to help us to really use our energy properly. So if someone has challenged us and created this intensity within us that feels uncomfortable and negative, they're gifting us with an opportunity to go inwards. It's just a very clear indicator that we need to do that. We need to engage the work that for us means going inwards. And so it does not mean trying to pour the energy out into the world. It's not an effective way to use that kind of energy. So we're encountering basically something that's very yang in nature, and so we need to respond with something that's very yin. Okay? And similarly, the very yin nature of the love and the clarity and the gratitude, we can balance that by being very yang and offering it in service and being creative. Okay? Okay, so using the tension that arises to go inwards. Just a couple basic things on how this works. We don't want to forcefully calm the agitation, suppress it, or look for distraction. It's important that we allow it to be there. Okay, so whatever this person or situation has brought up in you, those feelings need to be allowed to be there. And so next, what we bring to it is quiet observation from a point of stillness without trying to do anything to it. So it's one of the interesting things about transforming these experiences is initially we don't want to apply effort. We're not trying to transform it initially. It just needs to be held in a space of quiet awareness. And so I know that can be counterintuitive if we have an intention to transform an experience, but it does actually start with just quiet, still observation of what is going on from this particular circumstance. So let's say you've encountered one of these challenging situations, right? One of the most basic ones is, debating with someone or trying to call out someone in the community for something you feel that they've done, or saying something that they've posted or said is wrong or harmful. So let's look at what some of the options that we have, okay? remember, this is at the heart of disclosure. This is how we're going to move forward. This is how we can transform the negativity and conflict that exists in the community into energy that is beneficial for all of us. Okay, so simple things like pausing the interaction with simple, slow, deep breathing. This may seem so basic, but it is very powerful, and it takes a lot of maturity to apply that if you're in a circumstance where you're feeling very righteous. Taking time and space from the person or situation before responding. Facebook is a big thing for this. It's very tempting to continue to respond and to escalate. Okay? It's okay to walk away. It's okay to walk away for a day, 2 days. It's okay. Okay? We want to focus on creating the state of being that serves disclosure. It's not about your language. If you've thrown out your state of being as a priority, then you're not offering the service that is in alignment with our collective goals. Meditation and or journaling. I mean, this is huge. Meditation is an absolute must. And I'll get deeper into that in other episodes, as it is something that I teach professionally, but it obviously brings us to the skill of quiet, still observation that is so essential for processing turmoil in our own hearts. So important. Our hearts need that quiet, calm attention where we're not trying to do anything to change what we're feeling. They really, really do. So meditation is huge, and journaling is very, very helpful in that regard as well. Getting perspective from a friend who is removed. So that does not mean going to someone else in the disclosure or truth community to try and vent or get their opinion. It really does mean trying to go to someone who has no involvement at all. And this can help us shift into a higher perspective and then get into a place where we can transform the energy and use those yin-yang dynamics for the benefit of our own growth and evolution, and therefore for the benefit of humanity's ascension. Kindly withdrawing entirely, i.e. choosing non-interference. So there's two essential things in this point. First of all, kindly, okay? So it really doesn't mean saying F off. It's just not, that's not kind withdrawal, okay? That's trying to punish them. So withdrawal with kindness, that has to be considered very carefully. And i.e. choosing non-interference. So the idea here is that if we are not in a calm, heart-centered state, we cannot support the other person's process. I know it's tempting when we're feeling emotionally charged to try and convince someone to grow and learn and change, but that cannot be done in states of high tension and anger and frustration. It's not really possible energetically. So non-interference is a really beautiful form of service, where when we know that the state that we're in cannot uplift the human being or human beings that we are interacting with, then the choice to not interfere with their process is a beautiful, beautiful, loving form of service. And consequently, it is also an act of great self-love. Often the act of withdrawing kindly from a circumstance is actually taking away a moment that would have really interfered with our own process. And we are also, in that way, choosing to not interfere with our own growth and evolution by taking agitated energy and trying to go outward when we should be going inward. Okay, next. So, trying to change the outer circumstances when our body is signaling us. So we're getting these signals in our body, this tension, our heart rate could be elevated, our breath is likely shallow and faster than it should be, and there's likely tension occurring. So this could be looked at as muscular tension or energetic blockages, whatever perspective you want to take. So we're getting these body signals, right? this desire that most of us have to take those signals and go at the world around us is a form of social conditioning, actually. I really, really deeply believe that from my own research. And I'm going to get into the actual social conditioning that I have found that has created that tendency in people, the tendency to go outward when naturally we should be flowing inward with our awareness and our attention, mainly operant conditioning. And I'm going to do lots of work on that in later episodes. But that's social conditioning. So that's not something that's wrong with you, okay? This triggered desire to micromanage others, to manipulate, to punish, to shame, to attack. This is all social conditioning. So it's not something that's wrong with you. And healing this is actually healing the collective. So when you heal this tendency in yourself, you're healing our society and you're removing social conditioning and lessening the impact of that social conditioning on a collective level. Okay, so remember that desire to go outwards in these circumstances and to try and force someone else to grow or evolve or change or learn or understand, that's social conditioning at work. Keep that in mind. So these feelings are actually calling us inward, okay? Anytime this is occurring, you're being beckoned towards your own heart, towards your own innocence. And that's a really good thing for all of us to remember in trying to manifest a positive timeline, in trying to be more of service, in trying to live with regards to oneness. We're being beckoned inwards quite often, you might notice these days. Very common, right? A lot of challenges arising for us as individuals in a community. So think, if that's happening often, how often are we really being called towards our own hearts? Very important to consider. If we get stuck in trying to go outwards, then we are actually sabotaging both parties in whatever the circumstance is by encouraging an outward focus when the energy is calling us to do internal work. So you're not only losing out on the chance to transform this energy, this circumstance, into its positive expression, you're also encouraging that person to come outwards, right? So you're drawing both of your attention outwards when both of you, if there really is this deep conflict between you or whoever might be involved, however many people, if you're pushing to have it be this dynamic where you're both outwardly engaged, then you're sabotaging both of your process. And there's a huge amount of positive energy being lost in that unfortunate choice, be it conscious or unconscious. So, basically, don't apply the agitation, okay, the energy of agitation towards forcing change in the world around you. Very important that we go inwards for this. That's all I have to say today. So thank you for following all the way through my fun little slideshow, and we will see you guys next time. Remember, whoever you are the heart of disclosure.